Welcome back to Movie Moshow. Today we are going to review the drama film, Memoirs of a Geisha. If you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We post multiple times daily. Spoilers ahead. Chiyo was the second child of an underprivileged fisherman in Yoroido, and her blue eyes, in the book, they were blue-gray, made her a novelty in her community. Because her mother was dying and her father was elderly, the parents agreed to sell their girls in exchange for a more stable future. Chiyo and her sister Satsu were immediately dispatched to Gion, the geisha district. Auntie rejects her sister but chooses to keep her in the Nita Okiya. Then Satsu is instructed to work as a prostitute in a common brothel in the Miyagawa-cho neighborhood. Chiyo worked as a maid for the Okiya's first few years while plotting her escape. She was perceived to be a threat, therefore Hatsumomo, the star of the Okiya and one of the most stunning and well-known geishas at the time, set out to kill her. She coerced Chiyo into destroying a kimono that belonged to Mama, Hatsumomo's most dreaded foe in Gion. The following day, Auntie only half-heartedly beat her as retribution for the destroyed kimono since she didn't want Mother or Granny to touch her. She also cautions her not to put her trust in Hatsumomo since she will destroy her in an instant. Hatsumomo ultimately informed Mama that her sister resides in the Miyagawa-cho neighborhood beneath the brother home, Tatsuyo, and arranged for their meeting as retribution for damaging Mama's kimono. The sisters made the decision that Chiyo would sneak out of the Okiya by climbing up on the roofs of her neighbors, meet up with Satsu, and then the two of them would flee together. Her attempt was unsuccessful because she dropped off one of the roofs. Her sister continued without her. Auntie was furious with Chiyo for disobeying her advice to stay away. She received a letter informing her that both of her parents had passed away as she was getting well from her wounds. She is now completely alone in the world. Mother, the madam, incensed by Chiyo's rebellious behavior, made the decision to raise her as a maid rather than a geisha. She will never be able to pay off her contract and leave the Okiya on a maid's salary. Chiyo watched her friend and fellow maid Pumpkin become an apprentice geisha and have all of her job as a maid transferred to her as she settled uncomfortably into her destined life. Hatsumomo was delighted to learn that Chiyo would be Mother's slave forever and went out to make her life much worse than it already was. When Chiyo was 12 years old and out running errands, her worries about continuing to work as Mother's maid overcame her, and she began to cry. She was joined by a man who stopped to chat with her and go get some shaved ice. He handed her 2 cents and bought her some flavored ice to cheer her up. Chiyo made the decision to become a geisha at all costs in order to be with the chairman after seeing him leave with 2 geishas. She retained the chairman's handkerchief and used the monies to grant her wish. Chiyo, who is 15 at the time, is assisting Pumpkin as she prepares to make her debut as an apprentice geisha under Hatsumomo's guidance in the winter of 1935. She raced out of the Nita Okiya to the back of Mizuki Tea House, Hatsumomo's prime, and offered the mistress there her buddy shamisen after realizing that her companion had forgotten her shamisen after they had departed. A few days later, the renowned geisha Mama paid the Okiya an unexpected visit and made irresistible offers to take Chiyo on as her apprentice geisha. Chiyo became Sayuri when Mother's greed overcame her. As Sayuri continued her training, Mother started to think about adopting Sayuri as her daughter in order for her to inherit the Okiya rather than Pumpkin. The conflict between Hatsumomo and Mama grew even more heated as a result. The first night's bidding for Sayuri's Mizuage was quickly approaching, but, thanks to Hatsumomo's scams, Mama was nowhere near having enough potential danas, patrons, to begin a legitimate bidding. She made the tough decision to try Nobu, a wealthy guy who had been scarred by a chemical accident and despised geishas. Amazingly, he fell in love with Sayuri, and she fell in love with the chairman, his best friend. Sayuri became the IT geisha after placing the highest ever bid for her Mizuage in history. Hatsumomo was expelled by her mother after trying to ruin her career by starting the fire, and Pumpkin was left destitute and on her own. However, World War II short-circuited Sayuri's splendor. She and Mama slipped into hiding with the chairman's assistance while all geishas were rounded up and transported to factories as laborers. Mama and Sayuri discovered that it was difficult to remain true geishas after the war. The biggest consumers right now are American soldiers, who like regular prostitutes over geishas. Pumpkin's downfall has now shown to be a godsend. Sayuri, Mama, and Pumpkin were sent on a journey by the chairman with the intention of luring an American colonel by the name of Derricks and his cronies into becoming business partners. Sayuri came to the realization that in order to survive, she would have to convince Nobu or Colonel Derricks to serve as her dana. She resolved to abandon everything and follow her heart for once after meeting the chairman again after the war proved to be a too powerful temptation. Mama cautioned Sayuri from doing such in her room, saying that it would be insulting to Nobu and perhaps jeopardize her career. Because he saved her life and she owed him a great favor, she requested that he accept her as her dana. She says that Hatsumomo once made the mistake of following her love by eloping with Koichi, ruining her chances of being pregnant with Adana. Sayuri's refusal to pay attention to Mama ultimately proved to be her downfall. In order for both of them to be angry with her, she arranged for the general to meet her in a shanty and instructed Pumpkin to fetch Nobu. She seized this long-awaited opportunity to exact retribution by bringing the chairman. When Sayuri pressed her pal for an explanation, Pumpkin reminded her she had wrongfully removed her rightful position as mother's daughter and the Nita Okiya successor. Angrily and out of fury, cool, but still unhappy in the movie. Sayuri, crushed by her loss, tossed aside her beloved handkerchief and accepted her fate. Mother received a request for a reservation from Nobu just as she began to believe that she had lost his favor. Sayuri arrived prepared to win back Nobu's favor but was disappointed to see that the reservation had been made by the chairman. She then decided to settle for security. Since he sent Mama to find the girl with the blue eyes and make sure she was cared for and brought back to him, the chairman can now finally express his feelings and have his Chio back now that his best friend is no longer interested in Sayuri. Thank you for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.